Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome to our review show where we talk about everything that went on in the last week in boxing. That includes a great card in the Royal Albert Hall, all-female card with Boxer. But before that, there's some huge news. Dana White, Turki Alalshikh, TKO Boxing. What do we make of the whole thing? Boxing's being fixed. It's being changed. Are we buying it?
I'm excited to see where it goes. There's no doubt from, I think, what they've both said that it's not a case of them working with other promoters. It's more, we are taking over and this is how it's going to be done.
White's come out and said that this model is to prove and to deliver the fights that the fans want to see. But in a way, we're already getting that. So I don't know what other fights are meant to be. And, they're talking about removing, the WBC, the IBF, all that stuff and having one belt. I'm excited to see what happens. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm that sort of person that doesn't like change, and I think this is a big change. And yeah, it's I'm a little bit optimistic about it. If I'm being
optimistic
honest.
or pessimistic?
Probably that one.
Probably pessimistic. I think I don't know. I think it'll go one of two ways. Either it will be the thing that completely rewrites and changes boxing as we know it, and for the better or for the worse, or it's going to be the kick up the arse that Eddie, Frank, etc. need. To sort out there, or the WBC, everyone to sort out their game. You've already seen the WBC have had a number of their world champions coming out and posting pictures with their WBC belts this week, kind of in support of that. And I
couldn't believe with Canelo Alvarez. So he asked if he can have that WBC belt in that picture when he faced off with William Skull, and they said no. Mental, absolutely mental.
Yeah, but these organisations that have been around for over 100 years, they're not just gonna sit by the wayside now, are they, and go, "Oh, it's all right, you can take over. We'll just finish for all our history, everything we've worked on the last 100 years, all the fighters that we've helped build." Yes, it could end up becoming a bit messy, I think, where you'll have sort of boxing will split into sort of almost two sides of. It'll be Dana White's side and the Ring. It looks like they are going to try and use the Ring magazine to sort of be the belt, and that's their champion. But yeah, and again, the thing of having just one belt, we've spoke about it before, and the idea of it seems good, but then in practicality, when you've got so many boxers who are at the world level, so many of them are going to miss out on having a world title opportunity if there's just one belt.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this quite extensively in a podcast a long while back, quite early on, and the way that I sit on it is the UFC. If you look at the UFC model, that's the kind of the model that everyone says is perfect, and it's great. It's great for what it is, but there's 580, I think, UFC athletes at the moment. The average boxing division from flyweight up to heavyweight has about 1,500 fighters in a single division. Some have 2,500, 3,000 fighters.
And that's 17 to 18 weight classes as well.
Exactly. So what you're getting there is each division has 3 times as many athletes as the entirety of the UFC, which I just think it's, like you say, if fighters are fighting every year or so, which they tend to do, you could be a top 10 ranked fighter and you'll never get a world title fight if you're ranked 10th, because the guy's going to fight once a year for 9 years. He's not going to stay at the same weight for that whole time. And then it's just it'll be difficult. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like in practicality and how they do it, and whether it's its own sort of separate entity. It'll be really, really interesting.
And it's whether they can get the fighters to sort of switch over, because once they're free agents and I don't think there's definitely not any promoter out there that can match what Dana White and Turki Alalshikh are going to throw at fighters. But some people are saying it's not going to be as easy as just building up a roster of fighters to fight in this new league. But by the looks of it, their plan for the first fight will be Canelo against Crawford, and that's pretty much the biggest fight you can make in boxing, or near enough one of the biggest fights you can make. So that's some statement to start it off.
Oh yeah. It's a strong way to start, and it's interesting,
and they're cutting down weight categories as well.
Yeah, that's the talk.
I think there's 4 or 5 they said that they're gonna just have. And
it does. It very much does feel like it'll almost be a little kind of separate entity, a side parcel, and whether or not it will overtake the kind of mainstream boxing that we know it now with the Matchrooms, the Queensberries, Top Ranks, etc. And actually, it's the TKO Boxing League that is the one that everyone cares about, and then boxing kind of gets pushed to we'll see. But do you think Eddie made an interesting? He was saying he's not worried because no one can do it better than him, and the ones that have been doing it for all these years. Do you think that is the case, or do you think they generally are a bit kind of? Because let's be real, he's quite funny. They've been helping and thanking and working with Turkey this whole time. And then from certainly our point of view, all of a sudden, just like that, he's gone, nah, I'm leaving you behind. I'm doing my own thing.
They've come out and said that they are going to crush them. Them being Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya, Bob Arum. They're going to be like, oh, thanks for giving us your fighters to put us up into this platform. We're going to put you to one side now. This is what our future's going to look like. You're not in it. You're not in the picture anymore.
This might have been the sort of long-term plan is build up a platform. He is probably Turki Alalshikh is the man in boxing now.
Yeah, he's the face of boxing at the moment.
As much as Eddie Hearn wants to say that they probably will still be fine and be able to put on shows and have great fighters, but the fights we've seen since Turki Alalshikh has come into boxing, we would not have got without him. And if he can keep delivering them under this sort of new promotion, there's not going to be a need for any of these other promoters.
Yeah, I guess. Though could it be? Because it's basically, it seems like that Dana and TKO are going to work on behalf of the Saudis. That's going to be when a Saudi puts on the show, it's not going to be a Riyadh season card, it's a TKO boxing card in association with Riyadh season, it seems like. So is this almost going to be a little bit better, perhaps, because we're going to see the fights that we were seeing in the UK as we would have wanted them, and then other fights in Saudi Arabia. It kind of, that's the one criticism, hasn't it, is that these great fights have been over in Saudi Arabia where maybe the fans can't get to them. Now actually Matchroom and Queensberry, with the money they've made and a bit of a kick up the arse, might be making some better fights here in this country, over in the States. And then it's just another, I don't know, it's interesting.
Do you reckon they turn into like Bellator, Cage Warriors, PFL now, Eddie, Frank, and they're like the breeding ground to bring those fighters up, and then that's when TKO come in and say, right, I want him, and him. They're coming over to our league, like what they do in the UFC. They have like their own like contender series sort of night where they have fighters go up against each other for the right to go into the TKO league. They can do a lot of good stuff with this, I think.
Yeah,
a lot of fun stuff. But
I don't see the likes of Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren settling for being the sort of feeders to the big boys, because they have
but
always,
if the money's right, though,
I think more than likely they'd sell Matchroom, just sell the promotions and just have this new promotion as the leading promotion across boxing.
Well, Turkey jokes with Eddie Hearn, doesn't he, saying you should just stick to snooker and darts. That's what you're good at. Stick to it. Leave the boxing to me. So maybe he was actually true in what he was saying.
Maybe it's so interesting. And the thing is, well, it comes just after the WBC announced that they're doing this sort of Boxing World Cup, the Boxing Grand Prix, which has from certainly on our social medias and stuff, the post we made about it seems to be taken up pretty well. People are quite excited about it. For those who don't know, we got a video kind of explaining it on socials, but it's basically, I forget how many fighters it is. It's 40? No, it's
32 fighters.
32.
In 4 different weight classes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Obviously, heavyweight's one of the weight classes.
Yeah, heavyweight, middleweight.
Featherweight is one.
Yeah, and it's basically like a sort of similar to the Olympic tournaments you get in terms of amateur boxing, but in the professional boxing, in a load of weight classes with sort of prospects, young fighters, not the huge names, each from different countries, and it looks quite exciting, quite interesting, and that's been taken up really well. But then, like 2 days later, it's almost been shadowed by this huge announcement that's going to be happening, and it's like those are two huge things, huge changes that possibly could be coming, and they've both come within, I think, 24, 48 hours of each other.
Mental. Absolutely mental.
Yeah, it is just good. It's obviously going to take time for them to sort of build what they want to build, but it'd be interesting to see. I'm just looking forward to, and even Dana White said he was questioned at the UFC event on the weekend, would he be like looking to work with the likes of Eddie Hearn, and he was just like, that's not something I'm interested in. So it's very much, I think, in his mind is similar to what he done with the UFC, because he wiped out all the competition there, and they are the main brand and the place to be in terms of MMA. I feel like he's got his eyes set on doing the same thing with boxing and being, I'm the man you come to be a star in boxing.
But it's a different beast, isn't it? Because MMA is one of the youngest sporting disciplines, particularly, well, I think it's probably the youngest combat sports discipline that I can think of, MMA. Boxing's been around since the sort of, in a professional capacity, since the late 1800s. This is not a young entity that can be easily kind of wiped out, and I think that is to a degree to boxing's detriment, in the sense of the amount of times kind of people ask me, oh, why is this like this, why is this like this, and it's, well, because it started it wasn't a thing, and then it's just kind of grown into this huge professional entity. But it's going to take a lot to tear up all those roots that have been sown for so many years by, I mean, Frank Warren's been in the industry a very long time. Frank Warren arguably has made boxing what we know it today to a degree, in terms of the television shows, things like that he kind of pioneered, certainly in the UK. That's going to be a big task to rip all of that up, and
it will be, yeah.
Turn it over and say, no, I'm the man now. It's going to be difficult. He's going
to have more competition, definitely.
He's also going to have a lot of financial backing as well, which helps. What I mean. Like,
with the backing of the man who could make any fight in boxing happen, yeah, he's up against competition like Eddie Hearn and things like that. But I really feel like they are just going to try and put themselves in a place where we are the only place you can come to sort of... And boxers as well, they're prize fighters. They're going to go wherever the most money is, and I can't see anyone competing with these two, because it's not as if he's just got the financial backing of Turki Alalshikh. He's a very clever businessman with a lot of money himself.
I was going to say, he's a wealthy man as well, yeah.
He's a ruthless businessman as well, and he's not going to care about, pushing everyone else out of the way to make sure he's on top in boxing, I don't think.
Do you think the one belt per weight category is a good idea?
No.
I just think there's too many fighters.
Yeah.
There's, with UFC, like you said, there's a lot of a smaller pool.
Do you reckon that's what they're going to do, though? They're not going to bring every boxer's going to come into this league.
Possibly they could, like, they're talking about making it a league, and they could probably have like the top fighters in each weight division sort of signed to them, and then every other fighter, like you said, would be signed with like Eddie Hearn or wherever else, and they're looking to try and break into that then. But you've got that divide then of like the Ring magazine, and Dana White will be here with what they would class their world champion, but then the WBC will be, so you're still going to have multiple world champions. I think they're just going to work in a different way.
Is it almost going to make the problem worse?
Like, you could, in a way, because you could have a WBC world champion, you could have the Ring magazine world champion, and they won't fight each other because they work for different organisations.
It's going to be bizarre. Like, when you look at the heavyweight division,
and that's like the fight to make as well,
Yeah, when you look at the heavyweight division at the moment as a particular example, because there's a lot of people kind of around the periphery. If you said, let's say, so Alexander Usyk is the champion, Daniel Dubois would probably be his mandatory, you'd say. And then that would leave, that's probably, let's say Usyk fights twice this year, so he fights Daniel Dubois, Joseph Parker. That leaves Ajit Kabiel, Anthony Joshua, Joe Joyce, Zhilei Zhang, Bakoli, Chisora, Hooney, Ajagba, Hunter, Wardley. So many fighters. They're never going to get anywhere near that world title before they retire, just because there's not the room for it if there's only one title that you're fighting for. I'm more on the side of, I think I'm sceptical of what it'll look like. And obviously that's not to say it won't work, because I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm sure they'll have a way that it's going to look and it'll be work. But as it kind of seems in its raw roots of one title league, all of this, I don't know if it'll work personally. But what do I know?
I'm just looking forward to seeing how they try to work it out. And obviously the more months that pass by now, whether those sort of relationships that they've built, or Turkey's built with the likes of Matchroom, Queensbury, whether they sort of start to separate. But it might be a good thing for boxing in this country as well, because if they're not sort of focusing on putting those big shows abroad in Saudi and things like that, maybe they just think, right, we need to get back to our roots, reinvest in making the UK fight scene massive, any big fights and fighters we've got, let's get them fighting in big stadium shows in the UK.
Yeah. Are we expecting Canelo and Crawford to maybe be the first main event?
By the looks of it, that's what they've got planned for September. You could see Turkey was like itching already to share whatever they had planned, and Dana White was trying to like reel him in with wherever they wanted to share. But I think that's the plan. They've been saying September for them too. September is apparently the first show that they're going to put on with this new promotion, so I'm guessing that's the plans they've put together. Because Canelo, he works for himself. Crawford, I don't think is signed to anyone now. So.
I don't think so, no. I think he was with Riyadh Season was his thing. He's been in association with Top Rank, I think, a few times. But yeah, they're in a unique position there that they've got two huge pound-for-pound stars that don't have promotional companies. And the likes of, off the top of my head, Dimitri Bivol, Tyson Fury, if he gets back in the ring, these guys have quite strong ties with their respective promoters, and I don't think, particularly in the case of someone like Bivol, I just don't see him going against Eddie Hearn certainly in the near future. So it will be maybe something that takes a bit longer. We'll have to wait and see. And I think this is something we could talk about all day. So leave us comments down below what you guys think of this whole thing. What do you make of it? And we'll move on to the stuff that's at hand, the stuff that is actually happening or happened. That show in the Royal Albert Hall. Ben, you were down there. What's your sort of quick summary of the whole event?
Oh, it was an amazing night. It's the first time I've been to Royal Albert Hall, and to obviously celebrate on International Women's Day the talented female fighter. It was such a good setup, and it was so good to watch. And it was a really good night of fights as well. Like all really sort of competitive, enjoyable fights to watch. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Hopefully they sort of carry on with this now, because they had the all-female card back in 2018 or 2019 or whatever it was, and they sort of didn't carry on that momentum from here, so hopefully this carries it on now, and after that main event we've got hopefully set up, finally we won't have to travel and have a big undisputed title fight in Wales.
Yeah, and we'll get onto that main event in a bit, but I think the whole card, when you look at it, in terms of the matchups we got, the kind of fights we got, they all were great, and they're all good in different ways. Fran Hennessy put on a really great performance against a tough opponent in Gemma Rueg. Chloe Watson, Yasmina Shaposhna. Obviously, Shaposhna got the upset in that one in theory because she was the away fighter. Karriss Artingstall, Raven Chapman.
Great fight.
Exactly, a really good fight. Karriss boxed unbelievably well in that one. Caroline Dubois, Bo Mi Shin. That was a war. Fair play to Dubois at the end there. That last round was unbelievable. And then Tasha Jonas, Lauren Price is a huge fight, a passing of the torch, all of this. So as far as a card goes, if you're just looking at the boxers and the matchups, it's got everything you kind of want. Each fight has a little different box ticked. And it was a really easy, I know the 2-minute rounds help. It was a really easy, enjoyable night to watch. Sometimes you start to think, you're like, this is a bit of a slog. You go on your phone, you're scrolling, you're not necessarily paying attention. I was watching all these fights pretty intently and enjoying every single one of them.
Yeah,
how good
feels
is
like
Lauren,
it goes really quick, doesn't it?
How good is Lauren Price, though?
So good.
We literally said in the podcast before, she's too quick, too young, too sharp. Everything that we said, she did. And, Tasha Jonas at times did make it a little bit tricky, but Lauren Price just made that fight look very easy. She made Tasha Jonas look like an average boxer. And she's not an average boxer. She's one of the best in the world. And like you said, Friday night for me was a passing of the torch moment where Tasha Jonas has gone, right, you're the flag bearer now for women's boxing here in Britain, to Lauren Price, and look what she can do now. She's got the winner of Mikhail Meyer and Sandy Ryan, with Ben Shalom saying that he's going to try and work his arse off to get that in Cardiff, which fingers crossed he does, because apparently they're flying over to Vegas now. Get them face off, build something there, build the narrative, because I did quite enjoy the build up to this fight as well. I thought, when was the last time we had two main event women doing a face off, a gloves off style sort of interview? They did that, and top. You got to take your hat off to Boxer for how they promoted the event. Yeah,
Sky Sports as well. Yeah. They did the whole thing was really well promoted. There was people that, I think this fight for the first time, there was a lot of people who weren't necessarily interested in women's boxing talking about this fight and go, oh, have you seen the two girls that are fighting, the Welsh girl that's fighting? That's not something you've really seen to this point, even when she was fighting in Cardiff with Lauren.
Yeah, it seemed like it was such a good atmosphere in it. It's like it's built very well for boxing because it's sort of enclosed in on you, but the atmosphere in there, especially for the main event, was really good. And I said last week before this fight, I still felt like Lauren Price and Michaela Mayer was the best fight you could make in the division, and hopefully we get that now. Well, it could be Sandy Ryan as well if she gets, because the first fight between Mayer and Ryan was a close one, so the rematch could go either way. But I'd like to see, I think, Michaela Mayer, Lauren Price in Cardiff, an undisputed title fight. I think that's the best fight you can make.
Do you reckon that can do a stadium as well?
Well, that's the plans, is Cardiff City Stadium. I think they could definitely, like, I wouldn't expect them to sell it out fully, completely, but they could put a good dent in it, I think.
Yeah, like
Cardiff City Stadium, Cardiff Arms Park as well. You can maybe do it.
And it's like we've seen with what Box have done at Barnsley. I think is probably what you'll see is that kind of one time. I believe that's what they're doing up in Doncaster as well.
Are they? Wow.
With that card, with Terry Harper and the rest, that looks like it's going to be a stand rather than a...
That's some way, though, to generate an atmosphere, man. Just have everyone together on one side and the noise.
Because I watched the McKenna Laws fight back the other night just because I was like, what a fight that was. And just remembering it, I was like, that atmosphere, when you had that one stand, all noise going towards that ring, it was really good. And I think they could do some really great stuff with it. It's crazy, isn't it? Because we were saying... It feels a bit obscene to say that Lauren Price will win another fight without dropping any rounds. And I know she didn't on the judges' scorecards, but she didn't drop any rounds in that fight,
I didn't think she did. I thought she won every round.
Like, that is obscene, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like, there was I think one judge gave it as 2 shared rounds, and the other one gave it as 1 Tasha Jonas round and 2 shared rounds. And the third judge gave it entirely to Lauren. And that's not an obscene thing to say, that she won every single round. She's going into an undisputed title fight next, having never dropped a round in a professional ring. That is it's mental.
It's unheard of.
I don't know, but I'm willing to put my
well, you're going to Cheltenham
heart on my sleeve
so
and say
you're betting a lot of money. So
exactly,
just bet away now.
Whatever. If I wasn't going to Cheltenham tomorrow, I'd bet everything I have because I've got nothing left.
Yeah,
I've got nothing left.
Like, I've watched her now the last 3 fights. Obviously,
you've been to every fight with Lauren Price.
Well, three world title fights. I've been to all of them, and just every time we watch her, I honestly don't think, and people could think it's being biased, but I don't think there's anyone, I guess, near her in this weight class. I don't think.
To be a good world champion or a great world champion, you need to have one thing. You're unbelievable at. We've seen it with so many times. We've seen it with Floyd Mayweather's defense. All of this. Lauren's speed is scary. How quick she is. She can land 3 punches before you've even kind of registered that the first one's landed. It's obscene, isn't it? That is her kind of special thing that will make her really difficult to beat, is how quickly she lets her hands go. And then when she misses with that backhand, and you think, oh, this is my time to counter, she's already come with the lead hand hook, which I think she caught Jonas with that so many times. Jonas managed to get past the backhand and then just got caught with the lead hook on the way out anyway.
Yeah, and I think she had more gears to go through as well. She looked so comfortable.
It did seem like it, yeah.
Like, it just looked like she, not going through the motions, but it looked like she was like in total control and super confident, and I have no doubt that she could perform even better than what she was on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll park the Welsh bias for a moment as well and give a huge congratulations to Tasha Jonas, because
what a career!
What a career she's had. What a
in a way, you can maybe make the argument that Tasha Jonas, the reason why they had that fight at the Royal Albert Hall, an all-female card, is because of Tasha Jonas.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been there without Tasha Jonas. Yeah. Like, she is a trailblazer in women's boxing, not just in Britain but across the world. Like, to be the first ever woman from Britain to go to the Olympics and everything that's led on from that to get to this moment, it is great to see that if that is her last fight, to go out that way, to headline an historic night, the first ever time 2 females have headlined at that venue, such an iconic venue. It's amazing that she will go out that way if that's when she decides to call it a day. Yeah, absolutely. And I think she probably will. I get the sense that that's the last one, because it's the last big meaningful fight I think she could be in. But we'll see. We never know. So yeah, huge respect to Tasha for that one. Next up, Caroline Dubois. I think I tweeted it after about 8 rounds. I was going to say, this is such a vintage, unbelievable performance from Caroline Dubois. And it was very impressive.
But I thought in those final 2 rounds, her opponent almost stole the fight, didn't she? How she's taken that many shots and has the energy at the end of the fight to come straight back at her and test her to a point where we've seen absolutely no one test Caroline Dubois to this point. Fair play to her.
Yeah, like, not a lot of people knew a lot about Shin before coming into this, but she was sort of just built and had a reputation for being a front foot fighter who's going to be aggressive. And I was thinking in the lead up, is that something you really want to do against Caroline Dubois?
No.
But
Yeah, it's
to be
not.
fair to her, she brought everything she had, and she had a good reception as well, I think, from the fans afterwards, because they could see how much she'd put into it, and it weren't just a case of she jumped in there, let's survive these 10 rounds, say I've been in there with Dubois and we go again another day. It was a case of she was coming out every round and she was like, this is my opportunity to show and try and get that world title, and she was mandatory for a reason. Who could see that from that performance, and I'll be looking forward to watching her again now, because I thought she was so the fight overall, the both of them, the way they fought was just really entertaining.
Do you think in 95 was a bit of a... Wait a minute, hang on. 5 they scored there?
I thought there was watching it live, it seemed a lot closer.
Yeah, because I
two had
messaged
it
you,
a
didn't
lot
I?
wider.
Easy.
In the chat saying
So
it was
wide,
wide
yeah.
Dubois, and you thought it was quite close. I thought it was comfortable to Dubois. I think I think
that helps over the commentators as well in that sort of...
I'd say the
thing,
98,
yeah.
93... Probably closer to
98,
what I had it.
92 I had it, so...
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But I think, you could give her a round or a shared round here or there. But yeah, it was... it wasn't that close, I didn't think. And a lot of people online didn't think it was that close. But it is one of those
I
things,
think that's
sometimes in
why-
person, it does look different.
I think that's why Shin had that reaction in the last 2 rounds. She knew that she had to maybe work to get a knockdown, try and get the stoppage. But no, it was a great fight. This entire card was good. Karriss Artingstall, I think me and you predicted that she wouldn't win. We went for Chapman.
Yeah.
I apologise. What a performance.
Never go
Unbelievable
against Artingstall.
performance.
It's normally Ben who does the apology of the week, so we will take this one as,
Yeah,
as
well, I
taken
think
on
I
the
think
chin,
I've done
yeah.
all right on the
Are
predictions.
you giving Harry your apology of the week this week?
Yeah, you
Thank
can
you.
give the
Thank you.
apology to Karriss Artingstall.
When was the last time she boxed as well? Because it feels like
It was about a year ago.
Yeah,
It
mental.
was about a
And
year
she puts
ago.
in a performance like that against Chapman, who was coming in hot, obviously off that defeat to Sky Nicholson, but still heavy favourite probably, and yeah, to claim the British featherweight title and to do it that wide as well. 98, 91, 97, 92. All right, 96, 93 makes it an even sort of close fight, but yeah, unanimous decision. Mental. What a performance. And again, apologies.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sky was almost the perfect warm-up fight for Raven Chapman
Yeah.
in terms of style-wise and the kind of things she was going to have to deal with. But and that's why I think I predicted it the way I did. But Karriss Artingstall showed absolute levels in that fight, and that she is a great fighter, and she's a fighter that we hoped she would be out the back of the Olympics, and she's got that British title around, the first ever female British title at featherweight, which is crazy. That seems mental to me that's not been fought
Didn't
for.
they only announce that late last week that it was actually going to be for the British title?
Yeah, it seems like it took a little while to get done, and I'm
She got a world title shot next now against Nina Menke, I think.
Yeah, it could be a good shout. It could be.
And then do the unification fight with Sky Nicholson.
Yeah, it's I
In
don't.
Cardiff as well.
The only thing with that is I don't know if Artingstall Nicholson is, for the fans wise, a great fight. It's
No.
not going to be the most exciting fight. And I spoke to Karriss at the presser. She said she doesn't give a shit what the fans think. Basically, she said, "I'm there to win. I'm not there to entertain you necessarily. If you're entertained is as a byproduct, great. If not, then I'm here to win." Which huge respect to her for that, and certainly respect for coming out and saying it. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know if necessarily style wise that's the fight, but it sells the narrative, doesn't it? Because it happened in the amateurs, and then it will be, well, this isn't the amateurs, this is the pros, etc., etc. So yeah, it's certainly
I
something
think
I'd
you'd
like
get
to
an
see.
interesting build up between them two as well.
Yeah, it would do. It would do. I think Karriss has got that kind of a bit of bite to her in terms of she wouldn't let Sky just kind of be chill and be herself and be, I'm the champ, this, that, and the other. I think she'd give it something to be. It'd be a nice little build up. So maybe we see it, maybe we don't. But if not, I think either way it'll be a good fight.
Yeah, it was a good night to fight Zappa Consa as well, winning the European title. Like, that's sort of back-to-back sort of shock results from her, because she beat Maisie Rose Courtney as well. Was it summertime 2024? So it's two massive wins for her. She was there with Callum Simpson. She's like training in that gym with them, and she like it was a close fight. I thought I had Zappacosta winning by probably a round or two, but yeah, that was a really good fight to watch, really close, and to pick up a European title now, be interesting to see where she goes to next. And Fran Hennessy as well. Just I thought she was one of the standout performances on the night. She looked so good.
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
She looks like she gets better every time you watch her.
She does, and she really, you can see that. I mean, it doesn't necessarily, it's not an obscene thing to say because she only turned over at 18. And so these are learning fights for her still. And we talk about first fights as learning fights, but these are really learning fights for Fran because she hasn't had the same amateur pedigree that a lot of people have. You know, on this, how many, Olympians were on this card? She hasn't had that experience. So she is learning, but she, like you say, every time she improves and every time she steps it up and every time the opponent steps up, she steps up another level. And it's really impressive. And she's exciting, she's marketable, she's likable, and she's a good fighter. And that's really all you need. And she is the kind of person, the kind of fighter that 3-4 years down the line might be headlining a card like this. And you talk about her as the kind of, this is the top of women boxing, and you look down and there's some new fighters that have come through since that we maybe haven't seen yet. And that's a really exciting thing to do. This is, women's boxing is a young sport comparatively, and so it's going to take time to get to a level, like we said earlier, of a 130, 140 year old sport. But I think it will over time and with events like this move towards it where we just see, great women's fights on every card. And I think that's, from my point of view, that's a good thing. Good fights are good fights regardless of what gender the fighter is.
Well, what you just said, completely agree. And it's quite funny, literally in my notes all I've got is Fran Hennessy impressed again.
Yeah.
That's simple.
She could be a star for boxing. And what impresses me is just the fact how confident and laid back and how much she can just enjoy it. And how she comes out with the
Was she the first
dancing
fight?
Yeah.
walkout. She just looks so calm, composed. And then to go in against someone who's sort of a veteran in the women's boxing scene, on short notice as well, because it was only a few days that she found out who her opponent was, to put in a performance like that, win every single round and look very comfortable. She's just very impressive.
Yeah, huge respect. And even better, we've got Taylor Serrano 3 announced as well. It's not in Ireland, unfortunately, but I think
on Netflix again as well.
Yeah,
so
I think
happy days for him.
I don't blame him for it because I think what we're seeing is that MVP will pay them a hell of a lot more money than anyone else will, and I don't blame Katie Taylor for going, yeah, I'd love to fight in Ireland, but if you're going to pay me double, triple, whatever the money that Eddie's going to pay me, then I'm going to fight wherever the hell you want me to fight.
I think Serrano's getting paid, well, I think they said she's definitely getting paid the highest purse for a female fighter in the history of boxing, so...
Which I believe they said last time.
Yeah, in a trilogy that it's 2-0 and everyone still wants to see that trilogy because of how good the first
fights
two fights
are so
were.
good to watch.
Yeah, and they're so close, and you could argue either way, and there's so much... It almost seems like every time they fight, the rivalry gets a little bit more rather than less. Like, rather than going, we've settled the beef, it's like, no, actually, I dislike you more now.
It's like Eddie Hearn's celebration, wasn't it, in the ring in Texas?
Absolutely, yeah. So what a brilliant fight that's going to be. I'm really looking forward to that one.
July time, is it? July 11th, I think it might be something like that.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was that week before my birthday, that. Get it in your calendars, lads. I'm expecting the tweets. No, I'm joking. But that's a great fight and some huge stuff coming. So really great all round. We'll have to see what's happening with TKO Boxing and stuff in due course. But like I said, let us know in the YouTube comments or just wherever on social media. Let us know what you guys think of that whole thing, because it could be just a huge change for boxing, and for the better or for the worse.
We'll have to wait and see, yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you all for tuning in once again to the Bunch of Champs podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, all that good stuff, all the socials. And please do. We invite you to do so. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you all later in the week for our preview show.
Punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.